I'm increasing my portfolio by 175% with just one deal. 33 units, $2.1 million, and today we're inspecting the entire complex. Roof, plumbing, HVAC systems, appliances, attics, basements, everything. Multifamily real estate comes with more units, more money, and more risk. So with $2.1 million on the line, today might just be the most important day in this entire process. If all goes well, we move forward with the deal. But if we find something we really don't like, we've got some quick decisions to make. The clock is ticking down on my due diligence period, and when it hits zero, my $21,000 earnest money deposit becomes non-refundable. All right, so this is the complex. The seller just texted me he's here. The inspectors should all be arriving here very shortly. And yeah, let's show you guys what the kind of inner quad looks like. When we got to the property, the seller was already there. Super nice to meet you in person. How are you?
Good, good. So we can start over here. This lady works nights, so she just wants to get hers out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I did feel a little bad about disturbing all of the tenants, so I definitely wanted to get this lady's inspection out of the way so she could go to sleep, but the only problem was the inspectors weren't there yet. If you haven't seen episodes 1, 2, or 3 of this series, I know what you're watching when this video ends. In those episodes, I share why I decided to try large multifamily instead of just sticking with duplexes, what software I used to target the properties I wanted, and how I used a ballpoint marketing direct mail campaign so that any interested sellers could hit me up. One awesome thing about the letters that I sent out is that they're written with real ballpoint ink rather than just being printed on paper, and that authenticity turns into a much higher callback rate. But writing out 5,000 letters by hand is not a beast that I want to tackle anytime soon, and so ballpoint marketing has coded robots to hold the ballpoint pens and write out the letters for you. If you want to try it out, I've got a 10% discount for you in the description below, as well as links to free trials and other discounts on any of the software or tools that I use to get this deal. Okay, let's get back to trying to find those inspectors. I called their office, but no one answered, and I was just hoping that that was because they were on their way to the property. So in the meantime, the seller and I went to take a look at one of the 2 vacant units.
Weird, so it's 26 in the front, 20, 22, 24.
And then back to 26, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this one you said is,
This is one bedroom.
And what does he have left to do in here?
Just clean and sweep, I mean, it's all like, it hasn't been cleaned.
I'd already Googled him to learn as much as I could, and I found out that he had just closed a 650 unit deal, so I knew he was playing in the big leagues. I just didn't know how much. As we continued to talk and get to know each other, I found out that he flew into my city that morning on his private jet, and he was going to be flying to a closing later in the day, a couple of states away. He was also really forthcoming with all the details about the property, things that he liked, things that really weren't operating well, and he was also really open to my questions about real estate and just how he built his business in general. Luckily, it didn't take too much longer for the inspectors to show up, so we met them at the front of the property. How you guys doing?
Lili?
I am Lili. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and we spoke on the phone.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you. I know saying there's one tenant who works nights, and so she's wanting to get to sleep, so I think that might be the best place to start.
Okay.
How does that work for you guys?
Works fine for us. There are going to be 4 of us here.
Okay.
So we'll split up whatever's most efficient.
All right. I also had my own lead GC come out so she could see the property with me and we could talk through any plans for improvements or just things that weren't looking right. And we found a couple things.
Yeah, we can put another window in there. You gotta get one of those that open up like this.
Or a slide up. And then the window on the right side is gonna have to have the spot for the window unit for the AC. The first thing that troubled me was that none of the windows that had AC units in them could be opened. Now, that's a bit inconvenient for tenants, but even more importantly, it's a safety issue. Recently, the deadliest New York City fire in decades took 19 lives at an apartment complex. And while most of the headlines point towards a malfunctioning space heater, early investigations also reveal that there was a lack of adequate heating, which caused the tenants to use those space heaters, and there was also possibly a malfunctioning door that should have automatically closed to contain some smoke and fire, and it didn't. So with that on my mind, figuring out how to make these units serve as a possible egress point is something I hadn't planned for in the budget, but was something that I thought would be really important if we're gonna move forward with this deal. So Mariel's working on putting together the numbers of how much more that might cost us, but unfortunately, this would just be the first thing that kind of made my stomach drop.
The seller didn't know what this was. This is something that we will definitely drain and figure out what's under there and what's going on, and also fix it, because you never want somebody's kid to open something like this up or slip and fall. But this is definitely something that we want to investigate further, figure out, and take care of. We don't want to just keep this sitting water here. It's probably stinks, and it's definitely a safety hazard.
As the inspection team made their way through all 33 units, they flew a drone to check out the roof, they went into the attic, they checked appliances, they were all over the place. There's also a basement in one of the buildings that currently hold laundry machines, as well as this dungeon of a room, but we'll come back to that in a moment. I mentioned in episode 3 that none of these laundry machines are owned by the building, and therefore they don't generate any income for the owners. One of the first things we're gonna be doing is getting rid of those private machines and putting in our own laundry machines. It'll actually be cheaper for the tenants, and it'll increase the amount of income that we're able to bring in, since right now we're getting nothing for laundry. And on the other side of the basement is the boiler room. I have never seen anything like this, and I had the inspection company call in a boiler specialist so he could check out this system, because it is old and the entire complex depends on it. When the temperature outside drops below a certain degree, the heat for all 33 units kicks on through the boiler. And when the temperature rises above that level, the heat kicks off. I wasn't feeling too great about that. While the inspector said that everything was fine and he just recommended a couple of routine maintenance things, it still gave me pause that the entire 33 unit complex was dependent on one 20-plus-year-old boiler system, even though it's currently working. But I still needed to wait for the full report, and the inspection team let me know that within 24 hours, they'd have a detailed report on every single unit in my email inbox. I'd say that's $4,000 well spent, considering the clock is ticking on my $21,000 deposit becoming non-refundable. And if we do decide to go forward with the deal, that $21,000 is gonna pale in comparison to the $2.1 million purchase price. It was a little too early to start thinking about whether or not we needed to ask for a price reduction or if we somehow needed to change the structure of the deal, but the weight of this decision was starting to weigh on me a bit. When I buy a single family house or a duplex, I'm responsible for 1-2 families at most. But with just one signature, I'm realizing that I would be responsible for not just millions of dollars of debt, but also 33 families' well-being. And I think that's something that's not talked about in real estate enough. Even more so than making this deal work to make money for myself and make money for my investing partner, it can truly only work if I can sleep at night knowing I've made the property as safe as possible. And right now, it's gonna take much more money than I thought to make that a reality. So it's time to talk to my partner, review the inspection report, go back to the drawing board, and see if the numbers still work. In the next episode, we'll see if I can get all of that together before I lose my $21,000. And if you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, you've got to click here to go watch them. And if you've already seen them, this video will be perfect for you to watch next. You can click here or find links in the description.